When you get a bad sleep, everything can feel impossible. But when you get that time when you get one of those good sleeps, everything starts to feel possible again. So in this video, I wanted to talk about sleep because it's one of the topics that keep coming up for me time and time again, and it has been one of the biggest challenges of my life that I've been trying to overcome and trying to find ways to manage. So for this game of Call of Duty, we're going to be talking about sleep. So I'll kick things off by saying it has been a massive challenge of mine, and over the past 3 years I've been trying my best to sleep better and implement a sleep routine, and this has been one of the ways that I have been able to slowly start improving my sleep. But the past few weeks I have been in a rut of having a bad sleep, and it has honestly made everything feel so much harder. Everything feels, like I said at the beginning, everything feels impossible. Everything feels really tough, and this could be a whole video in itself, but the way that I like to describe it is, if any of you have played Dark Souls, there's these things called hollows in there, and essentially they're these people where their humanity has been stripped away. They look like a zombie, they just look like dead, and every time I get a bad sleep I start to feel hollow, and not in the sense of hollowed out, like I'm just empty inside. So I guess it is in that sense of being hollowed out. But when I'm saying it, I'm thinking about a hollow from Dark Souls, because I feel like that perfectly encapsulates what it feels like to have a long stretch of bad sleep. What are your thoughts on this, Jo?
I've never really had that much of an issue with sleep, well, in comparison to the struggles you've had. But I will say for me, the biggest thing that will affect my sleep is overthinking and stress. So if I'm in a high anxiety state or a stress state, or worrying about something, or just being very busy, like recently the past few weeks and months, like I've had some pretty awful times. At the beginning of the year, in January, I had to go back to taking melatonin, which I'd taken myself off of, and I had to go back on it because I just wasn't getting any sleep, because I was lying in bed worrying all night, and I was getting maybe an hour most nights, and that continued for about, weeks, and then I was just so exhausted and I couldn't really be myself at all because I had no energy, and it felt very hollow, yes. But I mean, generally, other than being in high stress states, I'm pretty good with my routines and stuff, although I will say that it's gotten better since we've been implementing sleep routines. And I only really did that so that you felt supported as well, but actually I think it's benefited me a lot as well.
Yeah, and talking about sleep medications, I was always someone that tried to avoid it, and for a lot of my life I've struggled with sleep, and it got to a point when I felt like I was forced to take some sleep medications. And I remember during a time of quite intense insomnia due to medications I was taking for a health condition, I lent on sleep medications to get me through it. And the thing is, they say you shouldn't take it for any more than 2 weeks. I ended up taking one sleep medication in particular, one that was over the counter, for 6 months. And then I also sought as much information as I could to help me fall asleep, such as taking magnesium, taking melatonin. And again, they say take these things for a couple of weeks. I've been taking both of those things for 3 years at this point, and I'm slowly weaning myself off of it. And I can't say that it's a fix-all thing, because there's been so many times where I take these things and it doesn't knock me out. The only thing that has actually helped is not being stressed, that's for one, but also having a sleep routine, and that has been huge. So you said you done it just to support me, so you didn't have any interest in having a sleep routine to begin with?
No, it wasn't that I didn't have any interest, I just think it was easier to be able to hold myself accountable for the routine when we were doing it together, because just to expand on what we do a little bit at night.
What we do?
Sleep routine wise, is we, about an hour and a half before bed, we make a pot of lemon balm tea.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mention lemon balm tea.
Yeah, lemon balm tea about an hour and a half before bed. Well, actually, it starts way early in the day. We only have so many caffeinated drinks a day. I only have 2 caffeinated drinks a day, that's it. Any other hot drinks I want throughout the day, I have decaf. Or I'll just have water or whatever else. It's easier in the summer because obviously when it's hotter I don't really want to drink a lot of hot drinks, but in the winter I like to drink hot drinks, so I get taking the mickey out of work a lot because after 10 a.m. I'm like, right, I'm on the decaf now. But I start really early in the day, and I know you do. You cut off your caffeine really early, like after your morning coffee. That's it, really, for you. So we reduce our caffeine intake. We don't have any soft drinks with caffeine in it, and we just try and reduce our sugars as well throughout the day. You're better at that than I am. So we have lemon balm an hour and a half before bed. We make I've got like a big pot with a diffuser thing in it. We make that up and we share that. We get about sort of 4 to 5, maybe even 6 cups out of that. And then when we go to bed, we make sure that we do some stretching. And make sure we take I take my melatonin a little bit earlier than you because I think it takes a bit for it to kick in for me. You take it literally as you're going to sleep, and I take it when I come out of the bathroom, so it's about like half an hour before I like try to sleep. And we've been doing that for
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. And it's definitely, I feel like I can definitely fall asleep quicker.
Yes,
that's
same.
one of the main things. I think for me, like, I didn't really have an issue with sleeping as much as you did, but I definitely felt like I had a lot of broken sleep. Like I didn't sleep through the night that much. And since we've been doing this, I feel like I am getting more sleep through the night now, which is good. So I'm getting more restful sleep overall, I suppose.
And yes, like I said, we're not supposed to take these sort of things long term. But I mean, I have lent on melatonin for a long time. And I think that that's because, if I'm being honest with myself, I think I've got a lot of, I don't want to make it sound, like too much of a big thing, but kind of like this sleep trauma. I've got this like mental trauma from all this time where I've had this lack of sleep, like this insomnia, and I don't want to go back to it. But that's a whole kettle of fish in itself, and it could be a whole video in itself, is the anxiety it now creates around, I feel like I am compelled to follow this routine. I'm compelled to do these things. It's like a mental addiction, I get, or behavioural addiction. Like I feel like I need to do these things to maintain the sleep, and if I mess these things up even one little bit, I get worried. I think about, I'm not going to sleep the next day, and Joe can attest to the amount of times I go on about worrying about, will I get enough sleep? If I've got one commitment in the morning, even if I know I'll be up in time for it, I still worry about getting enough sleep for it, because I know what it's like to feel so rough, and I guess I'm just scared of feeling that way again. I'm terrified of feeling tired, and it comes down to, I don't even feel that bad on the day. Say I get one bad night's sleep, it's not like it's the end of the world, and I'm slowly getting better at dealing with that, but I've just had that trauma. I don't use that word lightly, and I don't want to overuse the word trauma, but I think that's what it is. That's what it's like. I'm just scared of feeling overtired again, because I spent many months feeling overtired and feeling, honestly, it's really rough. I'm sure many of you listening probably know the feeling already, but for those of you who don't know the feeling, it's almost like you're a walking dead person. And I've mentioned this in another video, that the fatigue became so intense, it got to the point where I said, like, I'd be happy just being dead. Do you remember me saying that? I don't know how you reacted to that, but
I didn't like hearing that at all. I was just, the fact that you were so tired that you were quite happy to be unalive is just not nice to hear. But I agree that it made you miserable. I remember you going through that time when you had the intense insomnia, and you were literally trying anything to sleep for more than an hour or two. I remember you going through that, and it was really hard because I felt guilty to sleep, because I would just
felt guilty to sleep.
Well, yeah, kind of, because I would just go to sleep and have no problem.
You shouldn't feel guilty for going to sleep.
You lie next to me, I could feel you tossing and turning, and I know you were getting frustrated, and then I know how much it gets you worked up, and how much you were trying as well. But also, a lot of it was out of your control, because the amount of meds you had to be on, it was like you had no choice. Like, there was sort of like you were between a rock and a hard place, really. You couldn't.
Well, like I said, there's so much to this. I feel like you could make videos on all sorts of topics about sleep, because we've thought about it so much. And
I know you say trauma is a big word, but actually, from being with you for many years, I actually think it's an appropriate word to describe how much of an issue it's been.
But just to circle back to literally the first words of this video, when I was in that state of insomnia, everything does feel impossible, but to the point where it feels like even my heart beating feels hard because it's beating harder. My heart rate is higher purely because I'm so overtired, and just existing felt like pain. And it's crazy how just a simple thing as missing some sleep can make you feel so rough. But I think that for a lot of my life, I sort of was just used to this lack of sleep. Whereas after going through that intense period of insomnia and coming out the other side and then experiencing what it's like to have consistently good sleep, now on those days where I get like 6 hours or maybe just under 6 hours, I just really notice it. It like almost feels worse now because I know what it's like to feel at my best. So, but yes, lately I've been experiencing what it's like to get bad sleep again, and I sort of feel myself like I've been here before. I know what it feels like. I feel like I handle it a bit better, but I still worry and I still stress about it, and it still plays on my mind quite a lot because I've been there before, essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sleep, an integral part of life. And I always, whenever I mentioned it to my friend, he would say, just close your eyes. So I just close my eyes and fall asleep. And I think, if only it was that easy. I've never experienced that except on days where I'm utterly, utterly fatigued to all hell where I could experience that. But it's very rare throughout my whole life. I've always been the type of person that has to have quite an extensive wind down process. And I think some of the learnings later in life is that I have to respect that wind down process. Whereas when I was younger, perhaps I ignored it and didn't realise I was paying a price for it because I was almost like I could ignore the lack of sleep. It was easier to ignore, especially when I was a teenager. I would get lack of sleep and all I would notice was that I was tired. It didn't grip me in the same way it does these days, where it feels like it actually destroys my day and ruins my life. Maybe I do know that some of you have picked up on this. I have a tendency to catastrophize things in my own head. I have had comments, people calling me out, people in my real life saying that. And I totally agree with all of you. I do that. I do. But that's just the way my mind works, and I can't change that. I can learn to come up with my own ways of dealing with it. But that's just the way my mind works, and trying to retrain myself, not catastrophize things so much. It's like I said, I've been here before. I know what it feels like. I'm used to it. But I still have there's so many more topics to talk about with lack of sleep, especially times when I need to travel or sleep in another bed. That's a whole topic in itself. I really struggle with that. I don't travel well because of it.
We've experienced that literally yesterday, day before yesterday.
Yeah, and some people, they could go to a hotel or another person's house and sleep just fine. I did click my fingers, but you probably didn't hear it. And they sleep instantly.
I can't.
No, for me, I take days to acclimatise to it. We've had that when we've been on a holiday. It would literally take a couple of days before I even start sleeping. But for the past 2 times we've been away somewhere, I've just been lying in bed all night, just lying there. And then the day comes, I feel horrible, but we get through that day. And then the next night, we're starting to sleep.
Yeah.
And I do know people who also suffer with insomnia, and I think a lot of people suffer with it. Is it our lifestyle? Is it our mental attitude? I don't know. It could just be the way we approach sleep. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I
mean, in terms of what keeps me up, even if I'm super sleepy, usually 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, 100% of the time, it is because my brain won't shut up. Yeah. I can't just close my eyes and be like, oh, bedtime now. I can't do that, particularly if I've got things coming up like this past few weeks, or things have been happening, or things I'm like, right, I need to do something tomorrow. Even though I write list upon list upon list to get it out of my head and onto paper, it's still never fully out of my head. And then I end up ruminating over things. A lot of things that are just silly things. I'm just like, why am I even thinking about this? It's a simple task to do tomorrow that will take me 5 minutes. And I end up trying to figure out like a priority in my head, or I don't know. I suppose I do kind of catastrophise, maybe not into the level that you do, but I definitely do think, I overthink a lot, and nighttime is my time to do it because I'm alone with my thoughts. I find it hard to switch off.
Well, we've reached the end of this game. We've got a lot to say about sleep, but those are our thoughts on sleep. There's so much to this topic. So if you want to hear more from us, click this video that's popped up right now and leave your comment. Let us know how you deal with sleep. How are things going for you? Thanks for listening.